A very good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for dealing with that for me, Marcia. It is my distinct honor to stand before you this morning here in Bridgetown and to deliver these opening remarks on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Energy, Business Development and Consumer Affairs, Kerry Simmons, Senior Minister with responsibility for the productive sector. The Honorable Minister very much regrets being unable to be with us this morning in person to open this gathering and to give his comments. And so, unfortunately, you're stuck with me, and he has asked me to convey to you two things. First, his warmest personal greetings to every person here this morning. And second, and perhaps more importantly, his full and unreserved appreciation of the work that has brought you together here for the next 3 days. Indeed, it is a pleasure that you've chosen Barbados for this engagement. Therefore, to our visiting colleagues, allow me to extend a very warm Barbadian welcome. That does not include you, Ramiro, because by now you are an honorary Bajan. And so I want to ask you to make yourselves at home, take a walk on the beach, visit Oystins, try some Bajan cuisine, but let that not deter you from the hard work that will lay ahead these next 3 days. Because the work that lays ahead, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most critical conversations that this region will have this year, maybe even this decade. Allow me to begin where every honest conversation must begin, and that is with the reality of our situation. Ramiro painted it, Isabel painted it, and definitely Marcia captured it. But the overwhelming majority of the electricity that powers our hospitals, our schools, this very hotel, our small businesses, our homes, as we all know, is generated using fossil fuels that we import from somewhere else. Every kilowatt hour we consume is, in part, a transaction within a larger global commodity market over which we have absolutely no control, conducted in a currency that is not even our own, and subject to geopolitical shocks that we did not cause, cannot prevent, or maybe even solve. The consequence is that the people of the Caribbean pay on average more for electricity than our neighbors, as we heard Ramiro indicate earlier, in continental Latin America. A family in Bridgetown, or that mother that Marcia refers to, or a family in Castries, in Kingston, in Roseau, that family pays a premium not because of anything they have done, but because of the scale of our markets, the isolation of our grids, and the fragmented way in which we have historically gone to market. And here's the irony that should make every one of us in this room a little uncomfortable. We sit on and under the most abundant renewable energy resources on Earth. Sunshine in extraordinary quantities, trade winds that have powered ships across these waters for hundreds of years, geothermal potential, marine energy possibilities that we're only now beginning to plumb the depth of and understand. And yet, over the past 5 years, our rate of renewables deployment has been well below world average. So one of the questions that we're here to begin to unpack this week is, how can we change it? And my answer is in one word: together. Let me move from the problem to potential opportunity, because I don't want to depress you before the break, and I don't want a single person to leave this room thinking that the situation is hopeless. I think the mere fact that you are here tells me that you do not think that it is hopeless, that indeed you believe that there is hope. Across this region, our colleagues at RELP and the Global Energy Alliance, GAPP, have identified a pipeline of renewable assets, including battery storage, that needs to be deployed in the immediate coming years across our region. This is not a vague ambition or aspiration. It is a real near-term pipeline of projects that our utilities, our regulators, and our governments have already identified as necessary. But if we procure these projects in the way we've always procured them, country by country, tender by tender, each of us reinventing the wheel, and each of us absorbing costs of being small, the analysis tells us that we will continue to pay a premium and continue to pay more than the global average for the same assets and storage. But if we pull that demand, if we standardize our procurement processes and documents, If we present international developers and investors with a single, credible, well-structured regional pipeline, rather than fragmented 15 national ones, perhaps the benefits are extraordinary. One major benefit is the ability to garner substantial combined savings. That is money that stays at home here in the Caribbean. Money that does not leave our shores on a tanker. Money that could be invested in our schools, our health systems, our regulator, our climate resilience, and the futures of our young people. Some may ask, and rightly so, well, why this approach or why now? But may I point out to us that the Caribbean has long understood, even though we may not have gotten it as right as we ought to, that small states amplify their voices and their leverage when they work together. It is the founding insight of CARICOM. It is the logic behind the OECS. And don't laugh at this one. It is why our cricketers wear one maroon cap, regardless of which island they come from or how well they're doing on the world stage. The point I'm making is that I believe that we know how to do regional cooperation. We've done it before. We've done it well. We can do it again. So what is being proposed here, in essence, is an extension of that same logic into the domain of energy procurement. Not a surrender of sovereignty, not a uniform energy policy imposed on diverse national circumstances, but a recognition that when a Caribbean government ministry goes out to tender for, say, 20 megawatts of storage on its own, or 50, it does not command the attention of the world's best developers or suppliers, or even the world's best prices. When 15 Caribbean ministries go out together, for example, for a few gigawatts, structured intelligently with standardized contracts and credit enhancement built in, that is a tender that the entire global renewable energy industry will compete for. The government of Barbados understands this and understands this deeply. The transition to a more sustainable and resilient energy sector remains a national priority for us, as I know as it does for our colleagues here. It's driven by the imperative to enhance our energy security, reduce our dependence on imported fossil fuels, and to meet our evolving environmental commitments. That priority is not a slogan. It is being operationalized and led at the moment by our PS of Special Projects, Ms. Keisha Reed, who is seated there at the back. And to that end, 3 national energy consultations have been convened so far, well, 4, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, to provide strategic oversight, sharper coordination, and critically, accelerated implementation together of the initiatives we need in order to reach specified targets in the near future. Recognizing the complexity and the genuine cross-cutting nature of this transition, PM has mandated a results-driven approach, supported by 4 working committees, 1 on legal and precedents, 1 on technical matters, 1 on regulatory and tariff framework, and 1 focus on internal coordination between the Ministry of Energy, Business Development, and Consumer Affairs and our regulator, the Fair Trading Commission. Progress to date is reported as being steady with clear work streams in motion and early outputs already emerging. Our priority actions are focused on accelerating the deployment of priority technologies, finalizing bankable agreements, and reforming our regulatory processes so that good projects can move at pace the moment this moment demands. It is this same spirit of urgency, collaboration, cross-cutting approach that through our partnership with RELP, we have designed this country's first competitive procurement of battery energy storage systems, and that is aligned with our national targets. We have seen up close the difference that well-designed procurement and the right technical support make. The difference it makes to bankability, to investor interest, and ultimately to the price the Barbadian consumer will pay. And we are convinced, ladies and gentlemen, that if this is good for Barbados, scaled up and done right across the region, it is generally transformative for us all. I would be remiss, therefore, if I did not pause here then to acknowledge the work that have made this gathering possible and what I just referred to. So to RELP, thank you. The track record your team brings to this work, from the transformative Argentina experience to the work you're doing in Jamaica to our own work here in Barbados, gives this initiative the credibility it needs to act serious commitments from serious governments. To GAPP, your convening power and global expertise in battery storage, evidenced by your work from Malawi to India and now here in our region, brings together the kind of coalition this work requires. To the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, the World Bank, the European Union, CCRE, your continued partnership ensures that whatever we agree this week is anchored in regional architecture that will sustain it long after this workshop ends. And to every one of you in this room, representing your governments, your regulatory authorities, thank you for taking these days out of your busy schedules to be here. The fact that you're here is a statement of intent. So what then do we hope to cover over the next 3 days? We're not here in the language of the concept note simply to admire the problem. We are here at a decision-shaping moment. And that is the exact phrase I want to underscore. Your agenda is built around 4 practical initiatives. Permit me to restate them. First, we want to come out of this room with a shared understanding and ideally a shared endorsement that this regional aggregated procurement mechanism is something worth co-developing further. That is not a small ask. It means each of us going home and being prepared to say to our colleagues, our ministers, our boards, our regulators, yes, this deserves our serious attention. Second, we want clarity. Clarity on what participation in CAPP actually entails. What is being asked of ministries? What is being asked of regulators? What is being asked of regional institutions? No one should leave here unclear about what they're saying yes to, or indeed what they may be saying not yet to. Third, we want to identify a first cohort of perhaps early mover countries, those who are ready and willing to begin the structured follow-up work immediately, data sharing, readiness assessments, pipeline development, that unglamorous but essential work that will turn a concept into reality. And fourth, if possible, a roadmap, a clear post-workshop sequence of actions, milestones, and governance arrangements so that the energy, no pun intended, and goodwill of this room translates into momentum that will survive your trip home. The structure of these 3 days is designed to support these objectives. Today's session is focused on the strategic and political dimension, appropriate for those of us holding policy and ministerial mandates. Tomorrow and Wednesday, you will engage in deeper technical and regulatory conversations. Permit me to make a final observation as I stick within the 15 minutes that I was given by our Mistress of Ceremonies. And it's directly at those countries and those persons considering whether to step forward as early movers that I indicated before. There's always a perfectly defensible argument for waiting. Wait until the framework is more developed. Wait until another country goes first. Wait until the political conditions are perfect. Wait until the next budgetary cycle. But our citizens are not waiting. Our climate is not waiting. The cost of inaction is not waiting. It is paid every single month on every single electricity bill in every single Caribbean home. Barbados, for its part, we've made a choice. Structured right, we intend to be a part of this initiative. Not because we have all the answers, by no means, but because we are convinced that the answers are easier to find together than alone. Ladies and gentlemen, the work ahead will not be easy. It will require compromise. It will require the kind of trust between governments and agencies that only gets built through honest and at times difficult and hard conversations like the ones I hope we're about to have. But I have great confidence in our region and great confidence in the people in this room just because you're here. I want to say you're the right people. This is the right moment, and we're honored to host this conversation. So on behalf of the Minister of Energy, Business Development, and Consumer Affairs, on behalf of the government and the people of Barbados, thank you for turning up this week. Thank you for staying awake. Thank you for being engaged and involved. And thank you for the great work that will emanate from this room. Thank you. Welcome to Barbados. And let's get to work.